Hello everyone and welcome to our show. Today we discuss about paid marketing, how you can get results, sales, and I'm so excited to discuss this topic with Mike Williams. How are you?
Good. How are you? Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's a big pleasure. Check out your profile. You have extended experience. Love it. For me, it's very important to learn. Keep learning every day. I'm a student in this life, so when I check out your profile, I got it. Wow, I can get a lot of skills to speak with you. Before we start, just tell more about your self experience, background, and why you decided to pay a lot of attention with paid marketing.
Sorry, pay attention to which?
Paid marketing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
So, my background, I've been in digital marketing for about 18 years, very focused on paid advertising. I did get my start in SEO, started out as a link builder way back in 2003, I think.
Mhm.
And as soon as I started doing paid advertising, I just loved it. I mean, it's like instant gratification, but it's also really exciting in just the volume of traffic and scale that you can create. So we started out or I started out, using Google ads. And then of course, Facebook came along, started buying Facebook ads, bought lots of display traffic, worked at a number of different performance marketing companies and co-founded a couple performance companies and agencies. And I just really enjoy the game and how much it's changed and grown over the years. And so now my current role is a facilitator of Alacrity Academy, which is a digital marketing boot camp based here in Victoria, BC. And we've taught over 6,000 students the basics of digital marketing and worked with businesses to help them grow and scale, which has been really great. And then Jetstream, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Jetstream, which is a digital marketing agency focused on working with e-commerce brands to manage their paid ads on Google Meta ads, and now really jumping into TikTok ads, which I'm really excited about, and just TikTok in general. So thanks for
Mhm.
having me on. I'm really excited.
Yeah, nice, nice. Okay, can you tell the main difference between paid marketing for e-commerce companies or other niches, websites? What is the main difference between them?
Yeah, it's interesting. What my mind really goes to the KPIs that you look at, like what's important to, a download business, like someone downloading apps, or, like a local business versus an e-com business, driving leads versus driving sales. And especially right now, when I think about those KPIs, I think a lot about average order value, lifetime value, repeat purchase rate, versus some of the other things you might focus on when you think about media buying, which is like, cost per click, conversion rate, how much are we, like what our ROAS is, versus looking at more of the like whole picture. So a metric we like to look at is marketing efficiency ratio. So how many dollars did you put into the ads? And what did that do for your overall store? Because as you know, attribution is really, really difficult to say like, hey, we put in, $1 into Google and got 5 back. You might put 5 into Google and you put, 10 into Facebook and you 2 into TikTok and you got X number, but you don't really know the journey that the user
Mhm.
took across all of those platforms and how they got there and how to properly attribute that and say, well, TikTok gets 10% and Facebook gets 35 and Google gets the rest. Right. So that's what I really think about with paid ads, on e-commerce versus other types of businesses is when you pay, and I'll just use the dollar because it's easy math, but like, $1 for a click, you might only get $1 in revenue. You might get 50 cents, you might get less. But what's going to happen after the fact? You have to look at acquiring a customer for the long term. And what are they going to do? And how are you going to follow up with them, with email and SMS to really make the advertising work? It doesn't necessarily happen right in an instant. And maybe that's similar across, all companies. But that's the thing that really has, my attention when it comes to e-commerce companies and buying ads for them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think today, if you invest $1 and want to get $2 back, this time is gone. Because of the level of competition. Of course, it's better to find a customer,
Yes.
the customer longer, and your customer needs to bring uh, his friends, more customers. Yeah, then you can get $2 back. But if you don't pay attention with time value when you keep longer. Yeah, I think if your product is not good or you are trying to sell bad products, it doesn't work today. You can't get back all your investments. We have a good question from Dr. Nina. She launched a new medical consulting company and want to know what the best way to leave promotional material with her prospects.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting question. And the first thing that comes to mind, I don't know exactly, how the business works, but I think giving away value up front, like how much can you really give away to get someone to truly buy into your brand, buy into what you're doing, and how much can you share with them for free, right? That will then come back, in value for you, because they'll begin to know, like, and trust. Plus they'll have all that knowledge that you have. So, something that we would do in that case is potentially build like a webinar funnel, or kept collecting leads, name, email, phone number, for access to a free webinar that gives them just like a ton of value, right? And you almost feel like I'm giving too much away, but you're not. If you feel like that, you're probably doing just about right. And just give away that value up front, and then they'll know, like, and trust you and follow you. They'll appreciate all of this content and knowledge that you gave to them. That's what comes to mind. I don't know if that's necessarily the best way, but that's what comes to mind for me, is like, collect leads and just give away value and provide information and knowledge to your potential customers. And then, people buy from companies they know, like, and trust. Make sure your brand is recognizable so that, when they get that content, they see your logo. So the next time they see it, they're like, oh yeah, I like that brand. Or they search a keyword that's related to your business and they see that brand, like, oh, that's that company that gave me all that value. I like them. They've won my trust. And another thing that comes into play there is, like, psychologically, having influence over someone, is reciprocity. When you give someone something, they feel like, I need to give back to them. And so they're probably more likely to purchase your product versus just continue to take. They'll take until the timing is right. And then they'll say, okay, I've taken enough and I'll give back. I remember years ago, I was using Hootsuite, the free version. And I was using it. It was really, really effective. It was great. I was using it to grow my business and grow my following, and I wasn't paying anything. And I got like about a year and a half in. I was like, it was only like, I don't know, $10 or $15 a month or something. I was like, I should just pay for it. I wasn't even going to use more features. I just felt like obligated to pay because they had done such great things for me that I paid. It's kind of funny. It seems kind of silly, but I was like, we can pay for it. We can afford it. And they've been really helpful for me. So I think a lot about that, like, give away value, give away knowledge. And I think it will come back to you. So, give away, potentially with a webinar or a lead magnet. People are getting a little bit tired of lead magnets. They're savvy to that. Maybe there's something else that you can do, get them. Neil Patel suggests, like, do a quiz. Quizzes work really, really well, and give them that value. But you're putting hooks out there that you can, like, bring them back. And then if they recognize your brand at a later date and they recognize that, hey, I like them, they gave me something, they'll give you something back. Hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, totally. And you shared about the parameter EAT in SEO, like expertise, authority, trust. That you need to build trust.
Yes.
You need to share value before selling anything, because most customers don't buy from unrecognizable brands. If they don't know you, why they need to buy from you? You need to build this trust, and the best way to share value, to help them support before trying to sell. And that's why I think it's important to provide content marketing campaigns and unite them with pay-per-click. What do you think? Is it a good idea to start paid pay-per-click marketing without having a strong brand recognition, without anything? For example, if you launch a new project and nobody knows about you, can you start pay-per-click campaigns, or it's better to start with content marketing to build some brand recognition and then only set up paid ads?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And, the classic digital marketer answer is it depends. But to talk through that, when I talk to potential clients who are thinking about launching an initial brand, right? Like, there's two ways you're going to pay, right? Either you're going to pay for ads and you're going to pay to drive traffic, or you're going to pay through time, where you're going to take time to build up this, like, organic machine. So do you want to spend the time to, build a brand and create organic traffic, which is going to take you 12, 18 months, right? And I highly, highly recommend, I'm definitely not saying not to do that. I'm saying you should do that. But if you want traffic and you want to start growing now, then you need to look at paid ads. But you also need to understand that your conversion rate is going to be lower because people don't know your brand. So people will buy, especially if you're solving a problem and you can specifically explain how you solve that problem, even if they don't recognize the brand, because they're problem aware. They may even be product aware, knowing that, hey, there is a solution out there. They're just not brand aware of your brand. And then, going back to that know, like, and trust, like, do they feel like they know, like, and trust you enough? Or is the desire to purchase that product high enough that they'll just buy it on the spot, regardless of who the brand is? So to answer the question, though, yes, you can certainly launch ads, but be prepared for low conversion rates and not a ton of success. But that's a way to get traffic today, but you're going to pay for it with cash. Versus if you want to build organic traffic, then it's going to take you a lot more time to get SEO, social media, that sort of stuff going. That said, the caveat being, I don't know how much you're paying attention to TikTok, but you can go viral on TikTok with like less than 100 followers. You can gain a ton of traffic organically through TikTok if your market's there and if you have a good way of reaching out and resonating with your customers. So that game is changing a little bit, that you don't necessarily have to wait for organic. You can go viral. I think the thing that really takes time, regardless, is building a brand that people know, like, and trust, right? Like, that does take some time and takes a lot of effort and awareness. But you can certainly also launch paid advertising with the goal of, reach, awareness, brand exposure, and have a strategy there. And you're paying for that traffic, but don't expect a really high return from that. Know that you're investing in building a brand, and then over time, the best way to improve your conversion rate, in my opinion, is to build a really strong brand that recognize people will open your emails, they'll click on your ads, they'll buy your products. Think about any of the brands. Like I'm a big fan of Bubbly, right? I mean, they've done a great job with their branding. I really resonate with the Michael Bublé commercials. If you see those, I'll buy that all day long, without thinking twice about it. Lululemon, Nike, these are brands that I really connect with, and I'll buy their products if they have something that solves a problem that I have. So building that brand is, in 2022, you got to be doing it.
Yeah, well explained. Love it. By the way, I have a competition with my son, 11 years old. He posts video on TikTok. I'm doing as well, but I'm not good. For example, it's hard to compete with him because he has more followers, more views than me. I post consistently, but for me, it's very hard to compete with him because his audience is more active than mine. So I think TikTok is a good place, and love this experience. And for me, it's much better if you find your social media and pay attention to one social media. For example, I know that many marketers are trying to copy Gary Vee or any other recognizable brands that can get exposure everywhere. But he has a team, he has experience, he started on Twitter as well. So for example, when I try to cover Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, I usually got like 5-10 subscribers, followers a day, 100 views. But when I paid attention to LinkedIn alone, I got like 200, 300 a day, like 1,000 views. So I decided, why I need to be everywhere? It's like jack of all trades. I do this job. But in most cases, if I need to pay more attention, my choice is LinkedIn, because I can grow my audience there much better. So and you mentioned about go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'm the same way. I was on all the platforms, and we had a platform or an account for the company on all the platforms. I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna be on LinkedIn, and you can find me over there. And you won't find me on Twitter. It's not my thing. You won't find me necessarily on Facebook, and these other platforms. I am, like I said, I've started with TikTok, and I'm just jumping in. I'm just gonna do it and see.
Yeah.
Right. But it's a different game. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you mentioned about the tool HotSuite. Yeah, it's like a tool that helps to schedule your posts on different platforms. Yeah,
Yeah.
and can you tell how this tool can help you? Because from my experience, I usually use to my hands. I try to use such tools to schedule posts, but I found that social media platforms can disengage content if you are using tools, if they
Yeah.
do this job, because they leave the link. And for example, if you post yourself, you can engage with audience, reply immediately to their comments, you can share your post to some groups, and it works much better. What do you think? Why this tool works for you?
Yeah. This was years ago that I was using Hootsuite. This would have been probably like even 2014, 2015 when I was talking about that. And at the time it worked really, really well. I will say from my own experience, for a long time, I posted just every day on LinkedIn, like manually, natively. And more recently, I've switched to using Buffer to share. And I will say that I think there's a little less engagement because they're scheduled. And so I don't know if the algorithm is looking at that. I would assume it is, but I don't know for sure. But I will say that one other factor to consider is that when I would just post that day, it was a little more relevant. I think it was a little more engaged. I think even a little bit more like excitement came through versus a scheduled post where I had to sit down and like schedule something and then it just comes out. It doesn't get as much engagement. So I wonder about the algorithm, but I also just wonder about like the type of posts you create are maybe a little less relevant and engaging than if you do it live in the way that I think maybe these platforms are meant to be. I don't have the answer, but I'll share that.
I researched this answer because, for me, it's much simpler to use scheduling tools as well. But
Yeah.
I found the way, the main reason of any social media to keep users longer. When you use tools, these tools leave the link, and users can click to this link and go away from social media. So
Right.
when these people are going away, some of them don't go back. They just leave it. That's it. And social media platforms dislike such things. Because if they keep longer, that means your post is more valuable to them. They can earn more money with their paid ads. So it's from my research. I don't know. Possible for someone it works at another way, but I found when you use yourself, you can keep them longer and and engage with audience immediately. Because when you reply to the comments after like 1-2 hours, you can these people who left their comments can get back to read your replies, to increase engagement. It's the best time to get more exposure for any post. Yeah, it's from my research. Okay.
Interesting.
Okay, can you tell which tools do you use for paid marketing? We have a sponsor, Ahrefs, today. What do you think about this tool? And tell your Lavin tools.
I've used Ahrefs in the past. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but we use SEMrush as a tool.
Yeah, that's good.
I think I was using that one, and I've tried both, and I'm more familiar with SEMrush. But I will say that there's nothing like just using the platforms natively. Facebook ads and Google ads and some of the tools they have, like the Facebook ads library. I mean, to go in there and like see what your competitors are up to. I mean, that's a really, really great tool. And then on the Google side, I mean, we do use SEMrush to track and look at competitors and even look at potential clients. But to be honest, a lot of times it's way off. I mean, we've looked at brands and we've seen like, oh, they're spending like $3,000 a month in ads, and then we talk to them and we're like, yeah, we're spending $100,000, right? And so the tool is way off. So maybe it's time to give Ahrefs a try. But overall, I'm pretty happy with what SEMrush provides from a keyword research standpoint. But looking at clients and stuff and trying to get a sense for where they're at, or even competitors, there's nothing better than actually seeing inside their account and seeing all that information. Obviously, you're not going to get that for competitors, but you can do some research to track them down, and even click on their ads and see what they show for remarketing. Right, you can get some of that information. So we use SEMrush. It's hit or miss, but overall, I'm very happy with the tool. I definitely would, Ahrefs, you can't go wrong with that either.
Yeah, awesome. I think all tools have advantages and disadvantages. That's okay. SEMrush is a great tool. We know about that. And can you tell, for example, how to create the right message by using paid ads? Because when I read a few marketing books and some great blog posts, and they share you need to learn your competitors. But I think some companies don't understand the right message of that, because I think in paid marketing we have fierce competition. Yes, some big brands who jump on this field, and when you analyze how they get traffic, you can understand their strong sides, because in most cases companies set up their strong sides. How to find your unique selling proposition and jump there, ignoring your competitors? What do you think?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I really like to start with looking at competitors, but you usually don't win by copying, right? You really have to understand your differentiator and what makes you different. But what we do as an agency is research, right? I mean, I didn't say it, but copy isn't like a creative that just comes out of nowhere. Copy is research. It comes from understanding and learning, the brand, but more so the customer. So, we'll do voice when we onboard a new client, we do voice of customer research. So we actually reach out and survey their existing customers. You're going to find out the words they use, why they use the product. You're going to find out, where the problem was and how this solution helps them. You're going to find it in their words. If you can take that and turn it into copy, it immediately resonates with the customer, right? But we do, competitor research. We look at competitors, see what they're up to. But we're not doing that just to copy them. We're doing that to know what they're up to, so we know how we're going to differentiate. And then we do lots of, review mining, looking at reviews on Amazon, Facebook comments, that sort of stuff, see what people like or dislike. There's a lot of gold in the comments, right? And it's just about understanding your customer. The real challenge, I feel like, comes in, especially on platforms like Google, when you're running a search ad, they'll call it a creative, but it's not very creative. You're limited on what you can say. And so if a brand has come up with some tagline that happens to be like 45 characters, well, we can't even get that into the headline, right? So you're marrying the limitations of a ad text with some creative that you've come up with, even if you do the research or you have a tagline, and you have to try and put them together. Facebook gives you a little bit more control over that, where you can add images and, there's room for more text, but even they truncate the text in different placements, right? So, it's a difficult game, but it really comes down to putting yourself in the customer's shoes and really understanding, what they need and why they buy the product. And it probably isn't the thing that you think it is. From the business standpoint, we think about the features and benefits and our product can do this, and here's why it's better than the competitor. But maybe they bought your product because you could pay on a payment plan. It wasn't necessarily even the features and benefits that you had. I'm currently reading a book called, I think it's called Demand Side Sales by Bob Moesta. And he talks about the jobs to be done framework. Like, someone needs a job to be done. So they don't go to Home Depot and buy a drill because they want to drill and all the features of it. What they're really buying is a hole, what they're going to put in the wood and then put wires through, right? So when you really boil it down, how do you understand why the customer is really buying? And we almost can't see the forest for the trees when we're internal, either the business or the agency. So there's a lot of work that has to be done to uncover those things. And then, like I said, if you can understand their words and how they talk about your product, then you've really got something and you can write some creative copy. But there's still that limitation and character limits, truncation. How long will someone actually watch a video that I can get my message across? And I think that's one of the biggest challenges in digital marketing in general today.
Yeah, love it. I think the era of lazy marketers is that, when you don't research a lot, if you don't spend time, because I remember when someone shared with me, paid marketing on LinkedIn doesn't work. I asked why. Because I wasted $400 and I didn't get any results. And I asked him, okay, tell me how you did it. Explain about your process. And I registered, set up campaigns for a few minutes, set up the same paid ads from my Facebook, and that's it. No way. I think all platforms are different. Yeah, it's better to learn before.
And we
yeah,
we hear that a lot. I tried Facebook ads, didn't work. I tried LinkedIn ads. I tried Google ads, right? It didn't work. And so many campaigns don't work when you immediately set them up. It's only through the optimization, iteration, improvement process that you get to a place where a campaign, works. But it also can depend on how you're measuring that, right? We were talking about like AOV and LTV. Some of that takes a lot more time to collect. I will say about LinkedIn ads, it is difficult. I mean, especially if you want to target a specific group that's heavily targeted. I mean, the cost per click starts at like $15. A campaign that we ran for a client and the cost per click was $71 for one click. I mean, at some point those numbers won't make sense. But how can you make that make sense? How can you make it work? And I think that's the thing people don't realize that don't buy media is you have to optimize the campaign for success, and it's going to take time. It's probably going to take more time and more money than you expect. So be prepared for that. But Google and Facebook, as far as I know, 95% of their revenue comes from ads. So these things do work. Businesses wouldn't buy them repeatedly if they didn't.
Yeah, and I found that paid marketers usually pay attention to Google or Facebook ads and separate to LinkedIn ads, because I spoke with two speakers, and one of them, AJ Wilcox, and he handled campaigns around $120 million on LinkedIn.
Wow.
Yeah,
a
lot.
It works.
And he doesn't pay attention to other platforms because he's good with LinkedIn and he knows how to set up the right data. I had another speaker, and Garrett, his name, and he set up campaigns like for $1 million and got back $10 million on LinkedIn ads without using any Google or Facebook. So it works if you know how to set up this message, if you know how to find the right data, and I think it's like priorities. When I get insights on LinkedIn, someone is good with TikTok. So it always depends.
And I think it's dependent on that, like D2C versus B2B, because obviously LinkedIn is more B2B. But you're right. I mean, if you really work with an expert that has cracked that, then they're going to know how to do it. So.
Yeah. Can you tell about creating landing pages for paid marketing? For example, I see another mistake when businesses use existing pages that they have on their websites and set up paid campaigns. But I found when you create separate pages, landing pages specific to your keywords, according to your buying persona, you can get much higher results. What do you think about that? Can you provide some insights how to do it?
You're talking about landing pages?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I thought maybe you said LinkedIn pages, but
no, LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn or landing pages, in the right setting, in the right way, can work really, really well. What I usually look at is like sometimes you'll find a traffic source that's in a certain niche that isn't maybe directly related to your product. So when they land on your page, they're like lost and confused. But if you put a landing page in between, you can bridge the gap between the traffic and the solution, right? And so it seems a little bit counterintuitive to put a page in between, but you can certainly do that. And another thing is this idea of like, getting someone to engage and start clicking. So if you get to your landing page and you want to get them to like right to a product, right? Like buy a pair of shoes, right? Find your pair of shoes. If they start to engage in that process, they're more likely to complete the process. So if you get them to a landing page or to like your homepage or to a landing page and they won't do anything, there's nothing for them to do there, they won't start the process of checking out. But if you can do things to engage with them, maybe ask them a question, get them to click on a button, get them to search, these sorts of things. And you can use landing pages to create that engagement. And And so, we don't use necessarily a ton of landing pages, but depending on the client, we might use a lot more. If the page or the store, converts and we can send the traffic directly there, and it works well and the conversion rate is good, then that's great. But sometimes you can deep link into certain sections of a site, but the landing page really bridges the gap and can help create that engagement, and certainly helps with conversion rate. So, I'm a big fan of landing pages, but they need to have certain elements to be successful, right? A hero image or video that really like showcases the product, and especially if you can show faces of people, a strong headline, because people are going to look at that image or video. They're gonna determine what the page is about or the site is about by that video. The headline, being really, really strong and captive. That's where your copy comes in, understanding your customer. And then the call to action, right? Like, where's the button? Where's the thing they're going to click on? Where's the action they're going to take? And then anything supporting that gives you credibility, logos of other clients, logos of other brands that use your product, or social proof, testimonials. I mean, these things are highly influential. So, landing pages certainly can do a lot for you, can do some of the heavy lifting, bridge the gap, and are certainly worth a test. Anytime you are paying for traffic, you're going to want to do everything you can to get that conversion, or at least gain a customer or a potential customer. And landing pages help customize, especially with things like search, right? Where you've got different niche keywords, you've got groupings of different categories of types of traffic. Sending them to a landing page bridges that gap between the page they're actually going to land on where they purchase the product. So big fan of them. Use them where it's right, and don't overthink how it might seem counterintuitive to put a page or a process in front of the sale, because it might actually drastically improve your conversion rate.
Love it. Okay. I have the question about setting paid campaigns to info content. For example, in SEO, we write blog posts, we create some studies, free tools, many things, because we need to get traffic, and we can lead this traffic to e-commerce pages, to interlink, or just to create brand awareness. It depends. Can you tell, is it a good idea to create paid campaigns for info content, where we can cover a buying journey and to sell in the future, or to work like in the long run?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's something that we do a lot of, but in the middle of the funnel, in the consideration stage, those are the types of things that could convince a user, right? Sharing your knowledge, giving value, explaining the product, providing that information, and maybe answering a bunch of their questions that helps bring them through the funnel. Because we quite often will people talk a lot about the top of the funnel, they talk about the bottom of the funnel, but we're not really thinking about the middle, and the middle is so important. And so I think that's the place to send them to content, valuable content, answering questions, overcoming objections, and working people through that funnel. It's great to fill the top of the funnel and see them come down, but let's not let them get stuck here. And I think really that's the place to use a blog post, an info product, or an info page, and think about retargeting as well. The people that get to that page, they're there for a certain reason. How can I now segment them into a separate bucket that says, hey, they went to this page. Now, how can I help them, get to the conversion a little bit faster, or take them in a different direction? So there's a lot of reasons, why you would use that. And I know I said earlier that, like, if you're going to pay for a click, you want to get them to a conversion. This is still part of getting them to the conversion, right? It just happens to be in the middle of the funnel. So, definitely, the right time, right place. It's a good strategy. You need to think that strategy through and think about how you can segment that audience further. And if they're not going to purchase, is there a way you could potentially get, an email, phone number, and begin texting or emailing that user? And then you've created that one-to-one connection, and you can actually nurture them without ads to purchase, right? Where you've got the click, you got their email, you got their SMS, and then now you have a one-to-one communication with them that doesn't cost you, every click. You can make that work for you. So, couple different ways to do that. I wouldn't say that like it's not something that we do a ton of. We do some of that, but it's not sort of an area of expertise for me that
Got it.
those are my thoughts on that.
Okay, got it. Okay, in SEO, we usually get much higher results with clients who understand SEO. For example, if they understand why link building is important, what type of content they need to create, and if I see they understand SEO, then on the average we can get much higher results. Can you lead companies how to learn about paid marketing today, because we have a bunch of tools, many different stuff from your experience? For example, if you started today to learn about paid marketing, what will you do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I have to mention our course with Alacrity Academy. You can check that out at alacrityacademy.com. And it's a digital marketing course covering a number of topics, but we do talk about paid advertising. And one of the things a lot of the students will say is, I thought I knew a lot about these things, and now I know so much more. So we're kind of like pulling back the curtain and giving them a view of the other side, right, to see what's there. That's a good place to start. I mean, that's our own brand, but courses from like digitalmarketer.com, they've got some great courses. You can take courses from Google and Facebook and these other platforms, but you have to realize that they're going to give you the knowledge that's going to benefit them, which is spending more, which isn't necessarily beneficial for you. So like a third-party course is really, really valuable. And I don't think you have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for these. I mean, you can get some good courses, even access to certain webinars, for $100, $300, maybe $1,000 for a more involved course. That's the way that I would go. So find a company that you know, like, and trust, or maybe you've downloaded some webinars and listened to some of their content and you like what they have to say, and see if they have a paid ads course. I think that's where I would start. You can probably find some great content on YouTube as well. You just want to make sure that it's up to date and recent. A couple podcasts, like I listen to the Perpetual Traffic podcast, which is the guys at Digital Marketer. They usually have some really good stuff. It's not always intro like for newbies, right? But it's a good way to get a sense for what's going on, what's happening in the paid advertising and just the digital marketing world as well. So that's probably what I would recommend. I'm sure there's other options out there, but those come to mind.
Yeah, love it. Yeah. Can you tell what kind of future are you expecting from paid marketing? Because new techs are coming fast. Digital marketing is a quickly changing world. How to consider new techs, and what to learn today that will help you tomorrow or for a few years?
Yeah, good question. It's tough to predict the future. But what I see happening, with Google and their like performance max campaigns, and even with Facebook to some extent as well, is this idea of sort of like injecting your site and they'll find where it should go, right? I don't think we're quite there, but you could put in your site, it'll tell you which keywords, who you should target, which placements you should be on. And so I think we're moving towards more of that. And I'm really simplifying that. It's much more complex than that. But it feels a little bit like, okay, well, I'll put my website and they're going to tell me where this should go. So what's really going to matter is the message, the copy, the creative, the video, and how that resonates with the customer. Think about like radio, print, and TV ads, right? Like what stands out is the interesting ad, the one that grabs your attention, and it grabs your attention for a certain reason, because they don't have necessarily the tools that we have from a targeting standpoint. So I think the future is in the creative, the copy, and understanding the customer. And I think that the AI and machine learning within platforms like Google, Facebook, and TikTok is going to get better and better and better. And so you'll eventually just kind of inject your site and it'll take it to the right place. But I also think a lot about, privacy, attribution, tracking, data ownership. And I think that's going to continue to change. And I think it's going to be more and more difficult to track attribution effectively and really measure what dollar went in where and where it was actually attributed to a sale. I think that's unfortunately going to get more and more complicated. And I know there's some great tools out there that are doing a good job of, you know, like improving the visibility of that gap. But I just think that it's going to continue to get further and further away. You know, we're not going to come back to the you know, pre-iOS 14.5 days. I don't think that's going to happen. And so, you know, we're investing in creative and copy and understanding customers, and then thinking less about the algorithms of the platforms and more about the algorithm of the mind, of like, how do people think about this stuff and what resonates with them? Because, you know, if you can get really hung up on the algorithm when you're like, at the end of the day, we're doing marketing. You know, it doesn't matter if it's 1950 or 2022. If you get the right message out with the right brand, you're going to be just fine. And these, you know, AI and machine learning and these algorithms are going to do some of the heavy lifting. So, you know, get ready to be a marketer and less focused on the digital side of digital marketing.
Love it. Yeah, I think, you know, because Google, Facebook, or any other platforms, they pay attention to satisfy human. If they can't, competitors can do it. So yeah,
Exactly.
that's why we usually, I think it's a good idea to create content for a human and forget about platforms, and then only optimize content for these platforms. You know, just to set up the right message. Love it, Mike. It's a big pleasure to get in my show, to learn from you. Tell our audience how they can reach out to you, learn more about you, follow you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know, you can find me on LinkedIn. You know, I've got a fairly common name, but if you search for Mike Williams, and the company is Jetstream, you can check us out at www.jetstream.agency. And then I'm also facilitator of Alacrity Academy. You can check us out at www.alacrityacademy.com. And follow us on TikTok. I just started, you know, a couple days ago. I'm loving the platform. Go and check out Alacrity Academy on TikTok. Throw us a follow and a comment, and I'd love to hear from people.
Okay, guys, you can find all these links to Mike in the description below. Listen to us on Apple, Google, Spotify. Thanks again for your time. A big pleasure. Love learning. Digital marketing, is in my audience hearts. So, that's why we play this game. Okay, guys, love you. See you.
Thanks a lot.